Colors play a major role in our lives. They enhance the experiences of the media we consume and can even influence us emotionally. For games, the careful selection and implementation of colors contribute to the overall graphics, yeah, but most importantly, to the kind of visual storytelling. They are used as tools, conveying information to guide players and establish a visual identity for the game. The color palettes chosen can evoke specific moods, create a sense of tension, excitement, tranquility, whatever. Colors can also aid in differentiating elements within the game environment, like enemy health bars or more interactive elements. Through the strategic use of colors, game developers can enrich player engagement with a visually compelling and memorable aesthetic. Colors are multifaceted, meaning they can vary based on context and their associations. They can stand on their own and have their own separate meanings, but when skillfully blended and arranged, they have the ability to impact the human mind immensely. There's a specific color combination that, despite its frequent appearance in media, seems oddly overlooked. I want to talk about a couple games and discuss how and why these games have chosen to use this specific triad of colors. But first, let's talk about a color we're all too familiar with: green. Green is the color that we as people can see the most of due to evolutionary and environmental factors. The ability to distinguish the subtle differences in various types of foliage played a critical role in our growth and survival. Our heightened sensitivity to green has also bled into how certain groups around the world use this color. In many cultures, green has taken on various new meanings. Things like fertility, growth, wealth, and obviously nature. On the Mexican flag, it represents hope and valor, and in many Islamic countries, green is a significant and sacred color that is symbolic of the entirety of the religion. There's no doubt that green has and always will continue to play an incredibly important role in the representation of us as people. To be honest, there's probably only one other color with as much visual significance as green. Red is a color that overwhelmingly demands your attention. Positioned directly opposite each other on the color wheel, red and green create a powerful contrast. This relation makes it impossible to ignore. Psychological factors play a huge part in our attraction to the color red. Its ability to naturally stand out makes it a highly effective choice for signaling importance or danger. Throughout history, elements such as blood and fire, all things associated with the color red, have consistently demanded our immediate attention and have become warning signs that something is wrong and needs to be taken care of now. It's an incredibly important color with so many definitions, it's honestly fucking crazy. Now, let's take a step back for a bit and make a hue turn. Fuck me. Monochrome. Quick note, I realize that the term monochrome technically includes any singular color, but I feel that most people commonly associate monochrome specifically with grayscale, so for the rest of the video, I'll be using the term in reference to grayscale. Cool? Cool. There are many reasons why monochrome has and continues to still be used in media. For the original Game Boy, it was out of necessity. The console was constrained by the limitations of late 80s and early 90s technology. The focus on longer battery life was a key factor, yeah, as color screens consumed more power than monochrome displays, but the decision to use monochrome also just made game development a bit easier, simplifying the challenges related to programming and coming up with graphics. But monochrome has various creative applications. It can create cohesion and highlight things like texture. Artistically, it can emphasize contrast, shadows, and light. Like standard colors, monochrome can evoke emotion. It can impart a sense of timelessness. It can simplify or even outright eliminate color-associated meanings, offering room for a more universal interpretation. So, the question I have is, what happens when you inject color into something so seemingly devoid of it? The first game I want to talk about is a game called Bleak Sword DX. It's a dark fantasy action game with a combat system that is very straightforward yet still incredibly challenging. The general gameplay loop throws you into a small arena where clearing it out of enemies progresses you to the next one. Bleak Sword's aesthetic follows the red and monochrome palette, but it is unique in that its story clarifies why this is the case. The narrative unravels during the Red Age, an era marked by despair and darkness. King Eric and Prince Derek find themselves betrayed by their own kin, Prince Rael, whose mind succumbs to the influence of the titular Bleak Sword. This act of treachery becomes the catalyst for the start of the Red Age. As the Blood Moon signatures the start of a new, sinister era, Prince Rael, now known as the Bleak King, imposes his reign of terror for over 2 centuries. The dark magics unleashed by the Bleak Sword awakens ancient abominations who are characterized by their crimson eyes and thirst for blood. Bleak Sword limits itself with this 8-bit aesthetic, but makes the most out of the few pixels it has to work with, especially evident with these really simple enemy designs and their amazing animations. The game uses monochrome to convey an atmosphere enthralled in sadness and overwhelming darkness, but it also heavily leans on the usage of white as a representation of purity and hope. The primary goal of the main quest is to gather these stones of white, believed to hold the power to vanquish the evil caused by the Bleak Sword. White is kind of like a blank canvas, and in this context can signify a new beginning. This association with what's possible contributes to the idea that there is hope. The highly saturated reds, bright whites, and deep blacks all stand out with the help of post-processing effects like the adaptive depth of field and various particle effects, creating this really stunning visual art style that I just like a whole lot. Another game that uses this palette in a similar way is Otherside. Otherside is a dark and grim turn-based tactics game. The game starts off by focusing on the Mother, a centuries-old guardian of the Veil. The Veil serves as the border between reality, the reality we live in, and unreality, the nightmarish realm inhabited by the Others. The Others are beings that sustain themselves off of the human psyche and at times form bonds with certain children from an early age, resulting in the creation of those known as the Chosen Ones. One specific child, literally just known as the Child, has harnessed the power of an ancient god of calamity and uses its abilities to shatter the Veil. Despite the Mother's initial attempt to thwart the shattering, she fails and the Dark Corner manifests itself, the stage where the rest of the game takes place. The Dark Corner sets itself apart as a monochromatic realm that is not unlike a kind of purgatory. Chaudhry Alexander, art director for Otherside, stated in a Gaming Bolt interview that the idea of creating an in-between worlds vibe pinned on the edge of dreams and nightmares drove the entire project into those twisted realms of symbolism and ethereal concepts. The Dark Corner does exactly that with that bleak, colorless palette featuring a bunch of freaky weirdos that consist of cultist plaguesmen and nightmare creatures. But all hope isn't lost. As the Mother passes on, she undergoes a transformation that reveals herself as the Red Mother. Reborn, she manifests herself through the actual playable characters, the Daughters. The Daughters are replicas of the original Mother, meaning each of the classes are actually symbolic of her at a different point in her life. But in Otherside, the color red is used as a more positive element this time. Red represents her love and passion, becoming a recurring motif in each and every one of her daughters. The color red in a sea of ashen grays stands out as a color of vitality. It injects life and vigor into an otherwise desolate atmosphere, and it taps into that maternal origin with the Red Mother, tying that emotional connection even tighter. The next and final game I want to discuss is an incredible roguelike / Hotline Miami-like that also uses the red and monochrome color scheme in an interesting way. Ocho. As you don a mask dropped by a mysterious stranger, you're thrust into a surreal and abstract world where the only way to get out is to fight your way out. Ocho's universe is perhaps best categorized as a kind of neo-noir, characterized by its somber atmosphere and a very weirdo, vague plot. In Ocho, blood spills in abundance, serving as a visceral representation of the game's overarching theme, get revenge. This is where the significance of the color red comes into play. You assume the role of an amnesiac, bloodthirsty killer driven by the desire to reclaim a crucial part of your life, your lost lover. Everything unfolds as you navigate through the gardens and infinite corridors of the mansion. First, you'll find your way into the Rose Room, the initial space leading into the mansion and a space that frequently reappears as you progress. It's defined by its red rose rug, perhaps symbolic of the rose you're given at the beginning of the game, and its inhabitants, the bartender and the supplier, who actively encourage and propel your violent journey. Speaking of violence, there's a lot of it. Gameplay wise, you're going to be seeing red a ton as you just brutally massacre everything. But the monochrome aspect also really further reinforces that perspective of gameplay. Apart from the crucial elements like the rose and the enemies that you obviously need to be attentive of, your entire world is enveloped in various shades of gray. I believe this decision to use monochrome serves as a visual metaphor. You are colorblind, but not in the traditional sense. This choice to use monochrome emphasizes the idea that the player character is absolutely tunnel visioned. The only colors you perceive are what you believe to be essential. It helps you kind of become desensitized to the violence, creating a kind of emotional disconnect that I think enhances the themes of the game even further, and I really respect that. The exploration of the red and monochrome color scheme across various games and other kinds of media has really shown how the usage of colors can go beyond mere aesthetics. In the art that is visual storytelling through the use of colors, red and monochrome has established itself as an evocative instrument, capable of conveying narratives ranging from despair and violence to love and vitality. As games continue to evolve as an art form, I hope developers continue to carefully consider their chosen color palettes, as they will undoubtedly remain a crucial aspect of gaming experiences that captivate and immerse players on a much more profound level.